Hello friends, I am Vignesh Karthik. Today, let us discuss the news about the 500 and 1000 rupee notes and then the probable repercussions of the same, the analysis, and if it's good or bad. The first part of the video will be trivial, wherein we'll have a lot of information and content, and the second part will be analytical, wherein there'll be a lot of talking and less of content on the slides. So let's start with the Prime Minister's speech. To say the least, the speech is completely dedicated to the poor. This policy also is. So the government's intentions are clear, they want to serve the poor. Next, corruption and black market. So these two have been topics that we've been debating over and talking about over a long period of time. And now the government has come up with a tangible solution to this problem. Next, India, according to the IMF report, stands in a very promising situation in the global economy, considering the geopolitical situation and then India's strategic position in the global geography and various other factors. We stand as a very promising economy. But on the contrary, we rank number 70 on the corruption index, which is paradoxical because on one hand we are seen as this very promising economy and on the other hand our corruption levels are high. So if we don't bring them down, development or effective development will be lesser. And it is a fact that terrorism or related activities are funded using fake currencies. The government took many steps to contain the menace of black money, like the SIT on black money with Justice M.B. Shah, the retired judge of the Supreme Court, as one of its members. And then they've also entered into agreements with various countries to contain black money transactions. Next, the government introduced an amnesty scheme to announce black money. So there were a lot of people that were holding quite huge amounts of black money, and the government gave them a chance to disclose their amount or the money that they were holding. Once they do that, the government levied a given fee or a given charge on their money, and then the other money was allowed to be used by them, and it was basically made into white, or based on a few parameters the money was collected by the government and then the remainder was allowed by the people to be used. So around 1.25 lakh crore has been collected through this particular scheme. And the Prime Minister also remarked that some honest people have fought corruption well. However, he also highlighted on the idea that on one side, terrorism, fake note currency have been destroying the country, and also corruption and black money have been destroying the country. So these four issues were something that he highlighted, and then he wanted the country to be ready for tackling such issues. So, and it's also very important to know that the process of cash circulation is directly related to corruption. So, for example, the more the cash, the more the corruption, because cash can be easily transported and then hoarded, unlike bank accounts, which will be scrutinized on a routine basis. So the 500 and 1000 rupee notes will be invalid from November 8th midnight. So that was the notification that's been given out. And then from midnight November 8th, they will not, or they will cease to be legal tender. So when we say legal tender, it means that the ability of a note to discharge debts, or the credibility or the validity of a note that the government gives it. So the government has invalidated the 500 and 1000 rupee notes. So tender means debt clearing ability, and then legal means the backing of the government's diktat. We have 50 days basically to deposit all our 500 and 1000 rupee notes in any bank or post office. And then on November 9 and on November 10th at a few places, ATMs might not work, and because of the process of revamping. And then the government also is trying to limit the amount of cash with the people. So ATMs will limit money to rupees 2000 a day initially. So this is expected to go up a bit, and also the banks will remain closed on November 9th for public work. Apart from that, there will not be any change in other currency of exchange like check or DD or payment order or credit or debit cards, etc. So this is how the new 500 rupee note would look. This is the prototype released by the ANI, and this is how the new 2000 rupee note would look. The security features are upgraded, and then there has been a rumor about a possible tracking device on the notes, but then it's not been confirmed yet. So let's wait for credible sources. Now the analysis part. So before we move on to the analysis, I just want to say that this is a permutation combination concept. So economics is also like mathematics, wherein you tend to derive conclusions or you tend to imagine situations based on a few variables. So this list might not be exhaustive, but then as much as possible, I've tried to be exhaustive. So let's look at it on the whole, the repercussions, or the impact of such a policy. If you had seen the news, you would notice that the exchange rates of Indian rupee are falling. This could be because of the foreign portfolio investments or things like participatory notes, the investments from the other countries or from the foreign sources being pulled back by the investors. So when investments go down, the currency generally falls. So the value of the currency falls. So exchange rates have been falling. So this is one issue that we need to understand. So this situation has two solutions. One is, do we go for a closed economy wherein we decide or the government decides its exchange rate? So we did it before, or countries like Russia and China have been doing it before. So do we do that? No, I don't think this is a plausible solution now, because uh, we are living in a completely globalized economy now. So closing our economy, or in the sense that trying to decide our uh, exchange rate is relatively difficult. We could regulate it at best with other tools, but then we can't fix it. So it is not a very possible step to go for a fixed rate system approach. On the other hand, there's something called export competitiveness. So what if our currency devalues? So let's understand, or let's imagine a situation where the value of Indian rupee is falling against the dollar. So we could also see it as a positive aspect, because the export competitiveness of India will increase. Our exports will become cheaper and our imports will become costlier. So the more we fall with respect to the dollar, our exports will get cheaper and cheaper. So and the Indian producers or the Indian market will become ours to imports. So in this way, we can develop, make in India. The idea of make in India can be developed. Though it needs infrastructural support, but then this is one of the benefits, that we would become really export competitive, and then we can reduce the import. So this will help us in our balance of payments, wherein we have a current account deficit or a capital account deficit. At this stage, capital account deficit, there can't be much done, but then the current account deficit can be tackled, or the deficit can be reduced a bit. And then wider tax based collection. So when we are trying to involve every stakeholder of the framework, and when we try to bring them within the ambit of tax collection, so we would be generating a lot of tax. So for example, there have been a lot of traders or a lot of people who have not been, or who've been hoarding money and not paying taxes. So the moment hoarding reduces, or the moment holding of currency reduces, they will all come into the market, or they'll come into the mainstream market, and then for which tax can be collected. So when there is a lot of tax that's collected, public spending will increase, infrastructure will be developed. So infrastructure development is directly correlated to job creation. So there'll be a lot of jobs that are being created, and then public services will develop. So like the metro, or roads, railways, all of this will develop, and then provision of healthcare system, or other welfare schemes, for example, the National Food Security Scheme, there'll be a lot of money with the government at its disposal. So, and when we are reducing currency in the, or we're reducing cash in the market, corruption also will go down. So people can be really skeptical that if we give a lot of money to the government, they will involve in corruption. But then with reduction in cash in the economy, the corruption also will go down. So they can't have many spaces or many places to store their money, now, because storing money in lesser denomination needs a lot of space, and then there are a lot of issues. And when you make a lot of bank transactions, or when you force people to do a lot of bank transactions, you can't possibly have a lot of black money. So that's how it goes down. And then of course there is the Prime Minister's promise of money in every bank account. So one of his election promises were that he would make sure every Indian gets 15,000 rupees in his bank account. So there is a chance that this could be lived up to also, even if not in cash, but at least in kind. And then I've come down to a few specifics. This is the last part of the analysis. So a few specifics. So reform in small traders. So there has been a lot of business that happens in our markets, in our own famous markets that we know across the country, wherein there are a lot of unbilled transactions. So because of the leverage of storing money, did they involve in number two trade or the black account or the black money trade? But now that you can't hold money, so all of this trade will come to the mainstream, and then there's a lot of sales tax paid, or now that the GSTs come to picture, there is no double taxation also. So there is a unified tax system, and there is just there are a lot of traders. There's a lot of money, and then when there's a unified tax system, there is reform in the small traders, and then the way in which business is conducted. And then with respect to gold prices, we all know that places where black money is invested are either in gold or in the real estate. So the moment you can't spend a lot of black money for gold, the prices of gold will fall to the extent to which the such unhealthy spending has inflated the prices. So it will not come down to rags, but then there has been this unnecessary increase of price or unnecessary inflation of price because of a lot of investment, a lot of smuggling and a lot of investment. So all of that will go down, and gold prices will strike an equilibrium, wherein that's when that is the real stability that gold can offer. So that is when gold investments will be really stable, instead of an inflated situation where you think the prices are going high but they might always fall. Instead, a stable system or a stable situation is much more advocated or much more preferred. And the same holds with real estate. But in real estate, there's a difference here as well. First thing, when you can't hold black money, you tend to invest it in real estate. But then a lot of money goes in way of corruption as well. For example, if the guide value of a property is 1 lakh and then the market value is 10 lakh, so the common situation or the common process that happens is that you register a land in under the guide value and then pay stamp duty as per the guide value, but then you sell or get the money as per the market value. So for example, in this example that I just gave, 1 lakh being the guide value and 10 lakhs being the market value, the other 9 lakhs you pay tax for 1 lakh, but then you sell the land at 10 lakhs, so the other 9 lakhs is black money. So that's how this is being traded. So when the amount of black money comes down, the stamp duties are paid duly, so that which means government has a lot more money to invest in welfare activities, and then to even staff our own people. So if the government has more money, there are also a lot of government employees, so there is a lot of staffing issue in the government at this stage, that there are not number of enough there are no enough number of people to serve the citizens. So that problem can be done away with. And next, any past mishap. So with respect to tax reforms or with respect to any reforms on these lines, with respect to money, they are all retrospective in nature, in the sense that with respect to books or maintaining accounts, so if you've done any mistake in the past, a policy will have an impact on that as well. So if a trader has involved somewhere in holding a black money, in a situation where he held black money or something, so over the years when he tries to incorporate that money in the books will somewhere look inflated, and then he will get caught. So it will have a retrospective effect, and if implemented in the right spirit, it can unearth a lot of hidden frauds, etc. And then the loan market. The loan market will get highly regulated, and then the interest rates will get regulated as well. So the private loan market, which is being accessed by a lot of people in the country, has unfair amounts of interests. One, because the banks don't give loans easily, and then two, banks don't have enough money to give loans also. The loans that they've given have also gone bad. So to fill this gap, the private loan market has come, but then they charge unusually high rates of interest. So this is because, and then a lot of money to that particular loan market is being fed through black money. So when the black money reduces, the amount of money in loan market will get stabilized, and then there's a possibility that the interest rates also get regulated over the period of time. And then comes politics. Impact on elections and campaigns. So we all know that there's a lot of money that's been spent during elections, and all of the money spent is black money, because you can't afford to spend white money, in the election campaign, which is common sense. So the moment black money goes down, your elections will become more honest. There'll be people who try to come up with innovative ways of campaigning, cost-effective ways of campaigning, and then there's not much money wasted there. There's not any money wasted in terms of election and stuff. And then even if they're spending, it would be on account. So if a person is spending money, and you know that he's spending this money, it's better than the person trying to hide how much he's spending. And this will create a sense of sanctity, or an element of it. This will introduce an element of sanctity in politics, which is very, very important, considering the democracy that we are the largest democracy in the world. So so sanctity is an important element, or it is a very primal element for our politics. And then I've put this idea of Modi's foreign tours. So Prime Minister Modi has been criticized a lot about his foreign tours, and then he being on all around the world and not being in the country and stuff. So like we discussed previously here, with respect to FPIs. So exchange rates falling because the FPIs are somehow being pulled out, or the investments are being pulled out. So with respect to Modi's foreign tours, he's ensured that the country gets a lot of money from foreign governments, or foreign investors. So these are not FPIs, but these are credible investment sources. These are not participatory notes, or these are not instruments these are not tools that are volatile. These are strong, stable sources. For example, the deal with China for $22 billion, and then the deal with Japan, the deal with France, the deal with UK, the deal with the US. So all this is good money, that will stay in the country for longer periods of time. So this might take a lot of time to come to the country, but then once they come, they will not go back soon. So Modi's foreign tours can pay off, or will definitely pay off in this area. So on these lines, his tours should not just be seen as India or our country establishing itself in the global field as a political power, but also securing ourselves economically with respect to investments from other countries, etc. So the last point, good or bad. Every policy is good or bad based on how people welcome it, or how people help in the implementation of the given project or the policy. So this policy, like all the other policies, requires a lot of support from the people. The routine will definitely change, and the very the very idea behind the success of such a policy is people being ready for change, or people accepting the change and not resisting it. With respect to export competitiveness, like we discussed before, there would be a lot of devaluation in the currency, but then there will be regulation as well. So if we consider that to be bad and then start protesting, we might not reap the benefits that it would lead eventually. And then with respect to gold rates, or be it real estate, every other area, there might or there will definitely be initial shocks, but then the country or the people as such should be able to absorb those shocks for the long term benefits that we would be reaping out of such a policy. So at this stage, the government has come to a position wherein people can't blame it now for not acting against corruption or acting against black money. The part that the government should play or can play has been done. Now it's up to us to make it a success. And again, like I've mentioned before, the initial shocks need to be sustained for reaping the long term benefits. We are moving towards a cashless economy. We are moving towards more use of banks than before. We are low on infrastructure, but that doesn't mean we will continue to be. So with increased use, with higher demand, there will be supply. So the more we use banks, the more we use debit cards, the more we become cashless. So that's when we can tackle corruption or black money perpetually. And this is how the process will, or the journey will become a lot more smoother for the country as such. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you liked the video, like the presentation. If there are any questions or comments, please drop them down in the comment section. And then I humbly request you to like and share the video as much as possible. Thank you very much.